Peace, family. Peace, peace, peace. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the Campaign TV show, the podcast. I am your host, Brother King Cam, and thank you all for your continued support, tapping in with your brother. Tonight, we have a very, very unique show that we're going to be doing tonight. And, you know how we do it here. I want everybody to like, share, comment. I want to get this out to as many people as possible, family. Get this out to as many people as possible. So I appreciate y'all for tapping in tonight. And you know how we're going to do it. I'm going to join y'all. Man, this boy on a whole nother show. Hey. So, yes, family. So make sure you tap in because actually what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over some commentary. We're going to be doing some commentary over the conversation that happened between Lord Jamar and Godfrey as it pertains to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Vlad TV, as well as discussing the announcement that was made with there being only one indictment of a police officer with our sister Breonna Taylor, family. So make sure that you tap in. I'm going to pull up some clips because you know how we going to get it in. Originally, we was going to be doing business tonight, but we had to switch gears. You know, in this game, you got to switch gears. Things change on the drop of a dime. You got to be able to adjust, family. So that's what we're going to get into. So let me go ahead and pull this up again. I want y'all to like, share, comment. I want to get as many people on here as possible. And I just want to thank y'all for supporting another black platform, black media platform, because it's extremely, extremely important. Because black media is how we are able to control the narrative. If you don't know, media and propaganda is part of war. It's a strategy of war. It's an art of war. Before Hitler was able to turn the people in Germany against the Jews that lived there, he started out with propaganda. Back then, he didn't have a podcast show. He didn't have social media, but what he did have was flyers and pamphlets. That's called propaganda and media. That's how you're able to sway the minds of the people back then. In this day and age, we have social media, we have podcasts, we have radio, we have television, all those different things that control the minds of the people. So all of these different black media outlets that are coming up, we're coming up because we are looking to control our narrative now. We don't want NBC, ABC, Fox News, CNN, any of these other media outlets that portray us in a certain light to have that only perspective on us. So this is the purpose of having a black media outlet, and we thank you all for your support and assisting us. So let me go ahead and pull up this clip for y'all because I think it's very, very important that we look into this because a lot of our people are surprised by the decision that came down from Kentucky and Louisville about our sister Breonna Taylor. And I wasn't surprised. When you have a system that is known for their dislike for the black and brown community, when they have a pattern and a record of slavery, obviously 400 plus years of oppression, social oppression, economic oppression, 310 years of actual physical slavery, Willie Lynch, Jim Crow laws, black codes. All of this is embedded in the DNA or fabric of America. It's in the criminal justice system. So for those who think that the system has changed, it didn't change. The characters just changed costumes. That went over your head. See, the system didn't change. The characters just changed costumes. The slave catchers, they just traded in their horseback for squad cars. I'm going to say that again. They traded in their horseback for squad cars. They traded in the bloodhound for German shepherds. You see, they traded in the white sheets for blue uniforms and badges. They did this. So the story's still the same. The characters are still the same. The only difference is that they have changed their costumes. So you know how you go to a play and there's one part of the play, and then it goes, once that scene is over with, then it goes dark and everybody claps and you can't see anything. That's because the characters have to go and change costume for the next scene. It's exactly the same thing that we have here. So I want us to listen to, because I'm not going to play the whole Attorney General discussing the decision, because it's about an hour and some change long. But I want to hear what Brother Crump said. Actually, let's not do that. Let me pull up. Let me go ahead and go. Let's go ahead and play what the Attorney General said, because I think it's important.
On or about March 13th, 2020, in Jefferson County, Kentucky.
Hold on, and I want y'all to see this. Y'all already know how I do it. I want y'all to see what's going on. So let me share the screen. Yeah, let me get that going. Yeah. Let's share the screen and let's hear what they got to say.
The above-named defendant, Brett Hankerson, committed the offense of wanton endangerment in the first degree when, under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to human life, he wantonly shot a gun, into the apartment occupied by initials C.E. Count 2, wanton endangerment in the first degree. On or about March 13th, 2020, in Jefferson County, Kentucky, the above-named defendant, Brett Hankerson, committed the offense of wanton endangerment in the first degree when, under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to human life, he wantonly shot a gun into the apartment occupied by initials C.N. Count 3, wanton endangerment in the first degree. On or about March 13th, 2020, in Jefferson County, Kentucky, the above-named defendant, Brett Hankerson, committed the offense of wanton endangerment in the first degree when, under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to human life, he wantonly shot a gun into an apartment occupied by initials Z.F. against the peace and dignity of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Mr. Foreperson, is that the decision of the grand jury? Thank you. Sir, if you would please randomly select a number. Division 13. Thank you, sir. The case will then be assigned to Jefferson Circuit Court, Division 13. Madam Assistant Attorney General, do you have a motion with respect to bond?
Yes, Your Honor. The Assistant Attorney General asks for $15,000 full cash bond for the defendant, Brett Hankerson.
I will grant the motion and assign bond in the amount of $15,000 full cash.
Okay, so first of all, I need to understand where wanton endangerment comes into play, because I personally have never in my life heard of somebody being charged with wanton endangerment. It seems like it's something that's not very popular. It's not a popular charge, because I've never heard of it a day in my life. And I'm actually going to pull up the actual definition of it so that we can get a better understanding of it. See, we have to parse words, family. See, too often, we hear stuff, we hear different things, and the thing with this enemy is that they have the ability to change the language. They have a specific language that they talk in court. It's just a specific language that they speak in court, specific language that they speak in every human endeavor of activity, no matter what sector you're in, business, law, medical. There's a terminology, there's a language. If we don't understand the language, and they can talk over us and we not even understand what they're talking about. So let's parse this word of wanton endangerment. Let's see if we can get a good definition on wanton endangerment. There's probably one of the probably highly searched word right now. Wanton endangerment. Yeah, see, it popped right up. It popped right up. We're trying to figure out exactly what that means. Wanton endangerment in the second degree. Okay, wanton endangerment definition. According to Kentucky law, it's a specific Kentucky law. A person is guilty of wanton endangerment in the first degree when circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life, he wantonly engages in conduct which creates a substantial danger of death or serious physical injury to another person. He wantonly engages. So let's figure out what wantonly means, because that's what's going to help us to really understand. Wantonly. Wanton definition. Right? Okay, so the definition of wanton is of a cruel or violent act, deliberate and unprovoked. So he deliberately or unprovoked action of endangering another person. That's what wanton means. Wantonly. So he wantonly engages in conduct. He wasn't provoked to start shooting. He just started shooting, which creates a substantial danger of death or serious physical injury to another person. So he's charged with being reckless, pretty much, and engaging in behavior that created substantial danger of death or serious physical injury to another person. But if you listen to the Attorney General, as he delivered the statement or the announcement, he mentioned that several bullets went into the apartment next door. And that is why this particular officer was charged with wanton endangerment, not for the death of Breonna Taylor. So that's why it's important that we listen to what we're being told. And I know, family, that the description, and I just want to say this, the description that is in the that's in the box for the podcast tonight is not matching the topic, and that's because I had a completely different show lined up, but because my guest had an emergency, I had to switch it up because I was going to be interviewing Brother Jake, and we was going to be talking about business, generational wealth. That's what we was going to be discussing tonight. But because, again, he had an emergency, and I didn't have the opportunity to change the description in the box, but I had to bring it back and let everybody know that. So if you just coming in and you think it's supposed to be about business, I'm letting you know our guest that was coming on, Brother Taylor Jacobs, that was going to be discussing with us generational wealth, was not able to join us tonight, so we had to switch the topic of the show. So don't let that throw you off. You understand? Let's tap in so we can make sure that we gonna get this knowledge. All right. So okay. So now let us continue to listen to what's being said, because let me scroll forward actually to my man's right here.
To not lose sight of the fact that a life. Good afternoon.
So we're going to listen to him deliver this announcement, and we're going to parse it. Now, as we understood what wanton endangerment is now, we understand that it's reckless behavior that puts substantial danger and harm on any individual. Okay? So we already understand that now. Okay? Wantonly engages in conduct which creates a substantial danger of death or serious physical injury to another person. This is what wanton endangerment is. This is a specific Kentucky law. All right? Let's listen.
Thank you for joining us today. I know that many in Louisville and across the Commonwealth and country have been anxiously awaiting the completion of our investigation to the death of Miss Breonna Taylor. Prior to this announcement, I spoke with Miss Palmer, Breonna Taylor's mother, to share with her the results from the grand jury. Many of you in this room know that I had the opportunity last month to meet in person with her and other members of Miss Taylor's family, including Miss Bianca Austin and Miss Janiyah Palmer. I want to once again publicly express my condolences. Every day, this family wakes up to the realization that someone they loved is no longer with them. There's nothing I can offer today to take away the grief and heartache this family is experiencing as a result of losing a child, a niece, a sister, and a friend. What I can provide today are the facts, which my office has worked long and hard to uncover, analyze, and scrutinize since accepting this case in mid-May. I urge everyone listening today to not lose sight of the fact that a life has been lost, a tragedy under any circumstances. The decision before my office as the special prosecutor in this case was not to decide if the loss of Miss Taylor's life was a tragedy. The answer to that question is unequivocally yes. There's no doubt that this is a gut-wrenching, emotional case, and the pain that many people are feeling is understandable. I deeply care about the value and sanctity of human life. It deserves protection. And in this case, a human life was lost. We cannot forget that. My job as the special prosecutor in this case was to put emotions aside and investigate the facts to determine if criminal violations of state law resulted in the loss of Miss Taylor's life. This included examining the actions of Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly, Detective Brett Hankinson, and Detective Miles Cosgrove, the three officers who fired their weapons in the early morning hours of March 13th. In working with our federal partners on this case, it was determined that while we would share information to advance our respective investigations, we must also maintain some level of separation to ensure the integrity of each investigation. When examining issues regarding potential civil rights violations, we determined that any such violation are better addressed through a federal-led investigation, and issues involving potential criminal acts concerning the shooting are better addressed by a state-led investigation. With this in mind, our investigation focused on the events that took place in Miss Taylor's apartment on March 13th. In the months since taking this case, our dedicated team of prosecutors and investigators, with more than 200 years of combined career.
Okay, family. So, we have been around this. I had to take the mic off the stand for this. As you know, we've been around this block before. This is nothing new for us as it pertains to police officers taking unarmed Black life, male or female. It's not the first time this happened. We've been around this block before. And if you already know, every time they get ready to rule not in the favor of the victim, they love to layer and buffer themselves very well before they do so. So if you listen to the language of the Attorney General, he's talking about the experience of the federal agencies or the law enforcement agencies that are charged with investigating this case. You hear the amount of experience that the state law enforcement agencies have when it comes and the combined experience and all these different things. All of that is coming into play because they're buffering. What they're doing is just layering everything out just so they can give you or try to justify not ruling in the favor of the victim. So I just wanted y'all to peep that.
Experience conducted a thorough investigation to better understand the events that led to Miss Taylor's death. The team is here with me today. I want to personally and publicly thank them for their tireless work. These men and women are true public servants who for months have shown up every day with a desire for one thing, and that is to seek the truth. We decided while we would examine materials gathered by LMPD's Public Integrity Unit, we would need to conduct our own independent investigation and start from scratch in the interest of thoroughness, fairness, and finding the truth. There was no video or body camera footage of the officers' attempted execution of a search warrant at Ms. Taylor's residence. Video footage begins at the point that area patrol officers arrive at the location. Therefore, the sequence of events from March 13th had to be pieced together through ballistics evidence, 911 calls, police radio traffic, and interviews.
Okay, so I just want to say something here because people talk about police reform and different training and different mechanisms and all these different things that they say we can do in order to train the police better and how they're supposed to deal with people. My thing is, how is it with all this technology, with all of the body cams, with all of the different up-to-date softwares that you have and the training that you already have, why are you incapable of not taking human life when it's not necessary? When deadly force is not necessary, why do you have an issue with using deadly force? I mean, I don't understand. This is something where we've been seeing the pattern of unarmed black men and women being killed by the police. It's something that you would see a robot do, right? Because a robot cannot feel. They can't judge a situation based on the circumstances that are around it that are just internal for a human being, right? They're going to judge off of hard data. A robot would judge off of hard data and make a decision based on the hard data. But those small intangibles that separate man from machine, only a human could be in touch with. So I'm trying to figure out, why do these police officers in all of these different localities have a problem with being able to de-escalate a situation? I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Actually, the question is rhetorical because it's for you to answer, not for me, because I already know. But just something to think about.
Utilized information from the Kentucky State Police, local medical examiners, as well as working with the FBI crime lab in Quantico to secure a trajectory analysis and ballistics report. Our team conducted interviews in this case and spent thousands of hours examining all of the available evidence. We concluded our last interview in this case this past Friday and began our grand jury presentation on Monday. As long as the case is making its way through our legal system, I can only speak in general terms about our independent investigation and findings. As the prosecutor, I am prohibited by the Kentucky Rules of Professional Conduct from making public comments that could in any way prejudice this case as it moves forward. Each state has different rules about what prosecutors can and cannot say. The Kentucky rules are clear that I'm prohibited from making comments that could sway public opinion or heighten public condemnation of those involved in the case. These are crucial rules to ensure due process under the Constitution. When prosecutors prematurely release information about the case to the public, it can risk justice by poisoning the jury pool, violating the accused's rights to a fair trial, and even jeopardizing the final verdict. The success of our legal system is predicated on the principle that the accused is innocent until proven guilty. Despite passions, opinions, and desire for every detail to be known, the rule of law must apply. Justice must be done. In the early morning hours of March 13th, officers from LMPD executed a search warrant at 3003 Springfield Drive, apartment 4. This was Miss Breonna Taylor's residence. The officers were advised by superiors to knock and announce their presence in serving this specific search warrant. The scope of our investigation did not include the obtainment of that warrant by LMPD's Criminal Interdiction Division. Federal law enforcement partners are conducting that investigation. Sergeant Mattingly and Detectives Cosgrove and Hankinson had no known involvement in the preceding investigation or obtainment of the search warrant. They were called into duty as extra personnel to effectuate the service of the search warrant. They only had information conveyed to them during their prior briefing. Evidence shows that officers both knocked and announced their presence at the apartment. The officers' statements about their announcement are corroborated by an independent witness who was near in proximity to apartment 4. In other words, the warrant was not served as a no-knock warrant. When officers were unable to get anyone to answer or open the door to apartment 4, the decision was made to breach the door. After breaching the door, Sergeant Mattingly was the first and only officer to enter the residence. Sergeant Mattingly identified 2 individuals standing beside one another at the end of the hall, a male and a female. In his statement, he says that the male was holding a gun, arms extended in a shooting stance. Sergeant Mattingly saw the man's gun fire, heard a boom, and immediately knew he was shot as a result of feeling heat in his upper thigh. Kenneth Walker fired the shot that hit Sergeant Mattingly. There's no evidence to support that Sergeant Mattingly was hit by friendly fire from other officers. Mr. Walker admitted that he fired one shot and was the first to shoot. In addition to all the testimony, the ballistics report shows that the round that struck Sergeant Mattingly was fired from a 9mm handgun. The LMPD officers fired 40 caliber handguns. Sergeant Mattingly returned fire down the hallway. Mattingly fired 6 shots. Almost simultaneously, Detective Cosgrove, also in the doorway, shot 16 times. This all took place in a matter of seconds. In total, 6 bullets struck Ms. Taylor. Medical evidence obtained by our team indicate.
Okay, so listen. First, I don't know if y'all had heard, but everybody was saying that she had been struck only 5 times. She had been struck only 5 times. Now, today, they say it's 6 times. So we're trying to figure out, and later on, actually, in the press conference, they asked the question of how are all the reports and even her death certificate read 5 times she was shot, but now today it was 6 times. And the Attorney General says something like, because there was a bullet, he actually said a bullet or a projectile found in her foot. This is where the 6th bullet comes from. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, to be honest with you. So, I mean, everything about this case smells like a cover-up. Everything about this smells like they're covering for the police officers' egregious behavior. Okay?
That only one shot was fatal. Further medical evidence shows that Ms. Taylor.
And they tried to make it, you heard that. He emphasized the fact that there was one shot that was fatal. Now, I'm not attacking this brother, okay? I'm not attacking the Attorney General because he's just delivering the information. So that's what we as Black people have to understand, that this is not something that this is not something that our brother is doing. You understand? This is something that he is actually just putting out the information. So we can't get upset with him and talk about the Attorney General as if he has really power. He doesn't really have any power. He has people that are controlling his strings. And this is why it's important, and what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been teaching us is important. You don't have any real power, no matter what position you have, no matter how much money you have, no matter how high you go in the world of your enemy. I'm going to bring it right down to the front. No matter how high you go in the white man's world, you never going to have more power than him. No matter how much money you make, no matter what position you have, if you're the attorney general, if you are a prosecutor, if you are a high-ranking official in politics, whatever the case may be, is they give you just enough rope for you to hang yourself as soon as you feeling froggy. Okay? So we have to get in the mindset and understand that this is why we have to start building something for ourselves so that we can truly be free. Because how does it feel to make millions of dollars? How does it feel to be in a position of power but not even be able to exercise it on behalf of your people? How does it feel to make all of this money and not be able to give philanthropy to those that really need it? Huh? How does it feel to not be truly free when the God-given right is to be free and to have freedom, justice, and equality? And we can't do that in America. There is no such thing as a free black man until you get with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and listen to the wisdom given to him from his teacher, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is the wisdom of God. See, and that is the key which unlocks and frees the mind from the grips of the white man's world. But the problem is we are still attached. This is why most of us were surprised at the announcement today. Not because this man was, not because we had expected them to do anything different than what they've been doing, but that comes with knowledge. If you had the knowledge and the understanding, then you would already know the pattern of behavior that these people already seek. See? Moving on.
Taylor would have died from the fatal shot within a few seconds to 2 minutes after being struck. Detective Hankinson fired his weapon 10 times, including from an outside sliding glass door and through a bedroom window. Some bullets traveled through apartment 4 and into apartment 3 before some exited that apartment. At the time, 3 residents of apartment 3 were at home, including a male, a pregnant female, and a child. There is no conclusive evidence that any bullets fired from Detective Hankinson's weapon struck Ms. Taylor. The KSP ballistics analysis did not identify which of the 3 officers fired the fatal shot. After receiving that information, I asked the FBI crime lab to conduct its own analysis to see if they reach the same results. The FBI ballistics analysis concluded the fatal shot was fired by Detective Cosgrove. Our office looked at both reports to determine if there were major differences in the procedures used by each lab that would have led the FBI to identify who fired the fatal shot. Both law enforcement agencies use similar equipment and analysis, and each lab is highly respected for their work. There was nothing our investigators could point to, nor anything provided by the respective agencies, that directly explains why one lab made the call while another did not. I think it is worth repeating again that our investigation found that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in their use of force.
You heard that, family. They are justified in their use of force. Justifiable homicide. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did a lecture for Moss Mariam called Justifiable Homicide. What you just heard from the Attorney General's office was that the police officers who served a no-knock warrant with all of the most inaccurate information kicks in the door of two innocent people and opened fire on them, killing our sister Breonna Taylor. Now, if you have been following the podcast, I mentioned a few episodes back that there was a law put in place by the Reagan administration, him and George H. Bush, established a law that would allow police to execute no-knock warrants in Washington, D.C. under the guise of drug investigations. And what their goal and aim was to be able to harass citizens, specifically Black citizens, because Washington, D.C. was majority Black. And this would allow them to increase in arrests. That would allow them to meet the circumstances of the policy. See, what you're dealing with now is environmental trauma. Environmental trauma. So now mentally, you can't even sleep at night because the police have the ability, the authority, they have the green light to come into your home at any time of the night, kick the door down under the guise of there being a drug investigation, murder you and your family in your home, and you will receive no justice. This is a law that is on the books in the United States of America. And what we saw with our sister Breonna Taylor was exactly that. So for us to think that we would get any type of justice, this is a law that they already deemed, this is an activity that's already been deemed legal. Dick Gregory said legal doesn't mean right now. Let's don't get it confused. Legal doesn't mean right. Remember, slavery was legal. Doesn't mean that it's right. But this behavior is legal. You understand? I want you to think about what I'm saying, because you're not dealing with human beings who are in power. You're not dealing with a person or a race of people who see you as the same. You're dealing with one who has an inferiority complex and believes in his mind he is better than you. And because he believes he's better than you, then he believes he can do to you whatever he pleases. He believes that he can rule you and do to you whatever he pleases. So they're justified in the murder of our sister.
After having been fired upon by Kenneth Walker. Secondary to this justification, the KSP and FBI ballistics analysis reached different conclusions, creating a reasonable doubt in the evidence about who fired the fatal shot. I certainly understand the public's desire for answers. Many have questioned the length of the investigation.
And have you noticed how when they want to try to soothe the Black community now, they want to trot out somebody that looks like us? Because I'm pretty sure this brother had a difficult time delivering this foolishness to the masses. And you can see it in some of the questions that he was asked. He was really touched emotionally because he knows that this is dead wrong. He knows that. So it's troubling to him to even speak it, because he already knows that it's dead wrong, that the officers are murderers, and all three of them should be indicted charged, and brought to justice. He knows this. And it's just a sad situation when it has to come to this for us to start to realize and to wake up to what and who we're really dealing with. See? Justifiable homicide.
Simply put, we had to try every means necessary to determine who fired the fatal shot before the investigation could be completed. With a thorough and complete knowledge of all evidence collected in this case, lawyers with our Office of Special Prosecutions presented the findings of our independent investigation before a grand jury comprised of Jefferson County residents beginning on Monday and concluding today. In Fletcher v. Graham, the Kentucky Supreme Court said that the grand jury has competing but balanced functions. On the one hand, its purpose is to investigate allegations of criminal conduct and determine if there is probable cause to believe that a crime has been committed. On the other, the grand jury serves to protect the public against unfounded criminal prosecutions where probable cause is lacking. The grand jury is unique in our criminal justice system because it operates independent of the court and the prosecutor. The hallmark of the grand jury is its independence from outside influence. This independence is necessary to ensure that justice is done both for the victims and for the accused. After hearing the evidence from our team of prosecutors, the grand jury voted to return an indictment against Detective Hankinson for 3 counts of wanton endangerment for wantonly placing the 3 individuals in apartment 3 in danger of serious physical injury or death. The charge of wanton endangerment in the first degree is a Class D felony.
So, did you catch that? Did you catch that? They threatened, they charged the officer with wanton endangerment for why? Bullets that were fired into the apartment next to Breonna Taylor. Not because of the 5 or 6 bullets that hit Breonna Taylor, but the bullets that went into the apartment next to Breonna Taylor. Or if you don't think we got us in it, and you don't think that separation is the best and only solution to the black and white problem in America, you have got to be out of your mind. If you think you can fix this, if you think you can show up November the 4th and fix this, I'm convinced you have lost your mind.
Felony. And if found guilty, the accused can serve up to 5 years for each count. Kentucky law states that a person is guilty of wanton endangerment in the first degree when under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life, he wantonly engages in conduct which creates a substantial danger of death or serious physical injury to another person. My office is prepared to prove these charges at trial. However, it's important to note that he is presumed innocent until proven guilty. During the last 6 months, we've all heard mention of possible charges that could be brought in this case. It's important to understand that all of the charges that have been mentioned have specific meanings and ramifications. Criminal homicide encompasses the taking of a life by another. While there are 6 possible homicide charges under Kentucky law, these charges are not applicable to the facts before us because our investigation showed and the grand jury agreed that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in the return of deadly fire after having been fired upon by Kenneth Walker.
And they're using the fact that the brother shot at them first as justification for them returning deadly fire, only hitting Breonna Taylor. Now, I'm not saying that I don't know what they was doing, to be completely honest with you. So I can't even speak to the fact that how, if they know that he shot at them and they completely miss him and hit her 6 times, I don't understand. I really don't understand. And when you are dealing with a mindset of an individual who does not value Black life, who does not value brown life, who does not value the life of women, then you are dealing with a beast in human form. You're dealing with a person who does not, again, see the value of your life and will not hesitate to take it. So they're justifying the actions of firing back deadly shots with the fact that they were fired upon first, which, for all intents and purposes, makes sense, but only to the tune of how is she hit 6 times? Why was there an officer shooting through the window? Just brazenly shooting through the window as if there were multiple criminals at this location. See? So all of the movements of their operations that night or that early morning is off base, because you would have information, the police would, if you're executing a warrant, the type of situation is going to be, what type of individuals are going to be there. They are highly dangerous. You understand? How did they get highly dangerous where there needed to be multiple rounds of ammunition shot into this apartment? I believe they said one of the officers shot at least 13 times. At least. What was that about? Man, we got us an enemy.
Let me state that again. According to Kentucky law, the use of force by Mattingly and Cosgrove was justified to protect themselves. This justification bars us from pursuing criminal charges in Miss Breonna Taylor's death. The truth is now before us. The facts have been examined, and a grand jury comprised of our peers, fellow citizens, has made a decision.
Well, there you have it, family. They mentioned the fact that because these officers were justified in returning fire, because they were fired upon first, they cannot, under Kentucky law, seek criminal charges against them. It prohibits them from doing so. And the quote-unquote grand jury with our peers decided this was appropriate. So we have to now ask the question of this grand jury. Who was a part of this grand jury? How do you decide who's going to be a part of this grand jury? How do we know that it's a grand jury of our peers? How do we know they're not your peers or his peers or the police officer's peers? How do we know that these peers are for us? But either way it go, he said that they are prohibited from seeking criminal charges. And again, family, I was not surprised. This goes right along and right in alignment. It's in alignment with what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan have been teaching us. You cannot live in peace with these people. And you're not going to be able to live in peace among these people until you establish your own. But because their nation is falling and they have no use for you now, they have really put you out. But because you won't get out, you're like the poor man in the Bible begging at the rich man's table. So much so where he sicked his dogs on you so that you would leave and you still wouldn't leave. So they have told you in so many words that you need to do something for yourself because we don't have nothing for you anymore. They have sicked their dogs on you. They put the water hoses on you. They done disrespected you in establishment. They done told you how they feel about you in Hollywood. They've given you all of the ways out where now they say, we're just going to kill them. We're just going to kill them until they get the picture that we don't want them around us. But like the poor man begging the rich man, instead of going and getting his own table, you want to continue to go back and be mistreated, all in the name of integration, all in the name of can't we all just get along? Absolutely not, family. So I think now it's time that we all start to seriously listen to the guidance given by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because there is no other Black leaders that's giving you an out right now. There is no other option that you need to be considering other than how we can start to do something for ourselves, and that we can now begin to separate from these people. There's no other option. Don't talk to me about police reform. Don't talk to me about integrating. Don't talk to me about politicians or the administration, because this was happening way before Trump was elected president. So let's not make it about the Trump administration. If we keeping it real, let's not make it about the Trump administration. Let's make it about the fact that we have failed our sister Breonna Taylor. Let's make it a fact about the fact that we as Black men have failed to secure our communities. We have failed to create businesses, conflict resolution centers. We failed to join a church, join a mosque, join an organization that is working on behalf of the community so that we can prevent this stuff from happening, so that we can have measures in place where they can't even come into our community and serve any type of warrants without going through mechanisms and processes first. So because we didn't do that, we have another hashtag. We have another person on a t-shirt, another wings. You understand me? Another hashtag, say her name, say his name. So when are we going to now begin to take action? Because that's what it's about now. It's no more talking. It's no more marching and rallying, because you did that. You wore your poor little souls out there in Louisville. And look where they got you. So now we need to be talking about action. What are we going to do? Because we cannot put our faith and trust in this system to give us justice. So how are we going to prevent there from being another Breonna Taylor? How are we going to prevent from being another George Floyd or another Tamir Rice or any of our fallen soldiers? How are we going to prevent that? That is the question that's on my mind. That's the question that should be on your mind. We should be all ears for any solution that deals with preventative maintenance. Anything that you're talking about that's not going to be preventative maintenance and that we can't imply within a 3 to 6 month time frame, we ain't even talking about it, because it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant at this point. Okay, family? Irrelevant. So again, I thank you for watching and listening, and I want to leave us on this note, because I got another podcast that I'm going to be doing after this. And I got to check with the brother, make sure that we good. Okay, he just sent me an email. So yeah, so I'm going to be coming back at 10 p.m. with another podcast, talking with my brother China Matt. And we're going to be talking about how we can bridge the gap between different communities, Asian and Black community. But I want us to really think, Black men in general, specifically, how we can get involved. We got to get active. We can't continue to stay at home and think that this is going to fix itself, because it's not. We got to get active, family. Have to. So I appreciate you for listening, watching. I know this was a little bit deep. Again, I had to switch lanes because my guest for this podcast had an emergency, so I had to switch lanes, so that's why the title and stuff is off, but I'll go ahead and fix that. I appreciate you all for watching and listening, family. Thank you for tuning in. It's definitely time for separation, Sister Tawana. Absolutely, because that is time dictates the agenda. So it's definitely that time. So I appreciate you all for watching. If you would like to help donate, you can donate at the Cash App, $ Campaign TV Show, or PayPal, Bro King Cam. All right. Appreciate you all for listening, family. Peace.